What if every family death was followed by a cryptic poem in the newspaper, hinting it was no accident? When the matriarch dies, her grandson uncovers a chilling pattern, and realizes the next verse is about him. The day the obituary for Eleanor Blackwell appeared in the local paper, her grandson, Jamie, was the first to notice the poem. It was printed beneath the usual tribute, in italics, unsigned. The words were strange, almost taunting. The queen is gone, her secrets kept, but one remains who hasn't wept. The game goes on, the circle tight, another falls before the night. Jamie's heart pounded as he read it. He'd seen poems like this before, after his uncle's car crash, his cousin's drowning, even his father's sudden heart attack. Each time, the family had chalked it up to a local crank or a cruel prankster. But Jamie had always felt a chill reading those lines, as if the poet knew something the rest of them didn't. Now, with his grandmother gone, Jamie felt the weight of the family's tragedies pressing down on him. He was 28, the last of his generation, and the only one who seemed to notice the pattern. He clipped the poem from the paper, adding it to a folder already thick with yellowed newsprint and scribbled notes. He didn't know what he was looking for, but he was certain of one thing: these deaths weren't accidents. And the poems were a warning. Jamie spent the next few days in a fog of grief and suspicion. He pored over the folder, reading and rereading the poems that had appeared after each family death. The verses were always different, but the tone was the same, playful, mocking, and filled with hidden clues. He mapped out the deaths on a timeline, matching each one to the corresponding poem. The pattern was undeniable. Every time a Blackwell died, a poem appeared, hinting at secrets and lies. He started to notice connections he'd missed before. His uncle's accident had happened just days after a heated argument with Eleanor. His cousin's drowning had followed a bitter inheritance dispute. His father's heart attack had come after a mysterious phone call Jamie had overheard but never understood. The poems seemed to know these details, referencing the river's claim, the will's last word, and the call that ended all. Jamie's mother, the only surviving sibling, dismissed his concerns. "It's just a coincidence," she insisted. "You're letting your imagination run wild." But Jamie couldn't shake the feeling that someone was orchestrating these tragedies, and using the poems to gloat about it. Determined to get answers, Jamie began digging into the family's past. He visited the local library, combing through decades of newspapers, court records, and property deeds. The Blackwells had always been prominent in the small town, wealthy, influential, and, as Jamie discovered, deeply divided. Old scandals surfaced: a land dispute that ended in violence, a business partner who vanished without a trace, a bitter feud between Eleanor and her sister that split the family for years. Jamie realized that every death had benefited someone in the family. His uncle's death had given Eleanor control of the family business. His cousin's drowning had shifted the inheritance to Jamie's father. His father's heart attack had left Jamie and his mother as the last heirs. The poems, he realized, weren't just taunts, they were breadcrumbs, pointing to motives and secrets the family had tried to bury. He confronted his mother with what he'd found, but she grew angry. "Let the dead rest, Jamie. You're only hurting yourself." But Jamie couldn't let it go. He was convinced that the poems were a message, from the killer, or from someone who knew the truth. Jamie began to analyze the poems as if they were puzzles. He noticed recurring symbols, chess pieces, rivers, clocks, and keys. Each poem contained a hidden reference to the manner of death: a rook's fall for his uncle, the river's song for his cousin, the ticking heart for his father. The latest poem, about Eleanor, mentioned the queen and the circle tight. Jamie wondered if the poet was someone close to the family, someone who knew their secrets intimately. He started to receive anonymous emails, each containing a single line from the next poem. The messages were sent from untraceable accounts, always at midnight. Jamie's anxiety grew. He felt watched, followed. He changed his routines, avoided dark streets, and started locking his doors at night. One email contained a chilling warning: "The game is almost over. Are you ready for your verse?" Jamie realized with horror that he was the next target. The poems weren't just about the past, they were a countdown to his own death. Desperate for answers, Jamie searched Eleanor's house for clues. In her bedroom, he found a locked drawer. Inside was a leather-bound journal, filled with Eleanor's neat handwriting. The entries were a confession. Eleanor had known about the poems, and she'd suspected someone in the family was behind them. She wrote about her fears, her regrets, and her attempts to protect her children and grandchildren. One entry stood out: "If you're reading this, Jamie, I'm sorry. I tried to keep you safe. The game began long before you were born. Trust no one, not even those closest to you." The journal included a list of names, dates, and cryptic notes about each family member's death. Eleanor had been playing her own game, trying to outwit the poet. Jamie realized his grandmother had been both a victim and a player. The poems were more than warnings, they were part of a twisted family tradition, a game of secrets and revenge that had claimed generations of Blackwells. Armed with the journal, Jamie began to suspect everyone. He questioned his mother, his aunt, even the family lawyer. Each had a motive, each had benefited from the deaths in some way. The lawyer, Mr. Hargrove, had managed the family's affairs for decades, always present but never questioned. Jamie noticed inconsistencies in his stories, gaps in his alibis. He also considered the possibility that the poet was an outsider, someone with a grudge against the Blackwells, or a former employee seeking revenge. But the poems were too personal, too precise. Jamie became convinced the killer was family. He set a trap, inviting everyone to a memorial dinner at Eleanor's house. He watched their reactions, listened for slips, and waited for the next poem to appear. That night, another email arrived. "The final verse is yours, Jamie. Will you play, or will you fall?" At the dinner, Jamie confronted the family with the evidence. He read aloud from Eleanor's journal, recited the poems, and accused Mr. Hargrove of orchestrating the deaths. The lawyer denied everything, but Jamie noticed his hands shaking. Suddenly, Jamie's mother stood up, her face pale. "It wasn't Hargrove," she whispered. "It was me." The room fell silent. She confessed to writing the poems, to manipulating events behind the scenes, to playing the game Eleanor had started. "I did it to protect us," she said. "To keep the family together." But the game got out of control. Jamie was stunned. His mother had been the poet, the mastermind behind the tragedies. She broke down, sobbing. "I never meant for anyone to die. I just wanted to keep us safe." Jamie struggled to process the truth. His mother explained how the game had begun as a way to control the family, to punish those who threatened their legacy. But over time, it had become an obsession, a compulsion she couldn't escape. The poems were her way of confessing, of begging for someone to stop her. Jamie realized he was in danger, not from an outsider, but from his own blood. He confronted his mother, demanding she end the game. She agreed, but warned him, "The game never really ends. There's always another player." That night, Jamie received one last email: "The final verse is written, the game is done, but secrets linger, and justice won. The last Blackwell stands, the circle breaks, but every ending, a new game makes." The truth shattered the family. Jamie's mother was arrested, her confession making headlines. The town was shocked, the Blackwell name forever tarnished. Jamie struggled with guilt and grief, mourning the family he'd lost and the innocence he'd never really had. He sold Eleanor's house, donated the proceeds to charity, and tried to rebuild his life. He kept the folder of poems and the journal, reminders of the game that had defined his family for generations. He vowed never to let the past control him again. Jamie found solace in therapy, in new friendships, and in the knowledge that he had survived. The game was over, but the scars remained. Years later, Jamie started a new life in another town. He changed his name, built a career, and tried to forget the past. But sometimes, late at night, He dreamed of poems and secrets, of games that never really end. One morning, he found a letter in his mailbox. It was unsigned, written in familiar, taunting verse. "The game is over, or so you say, but secrets live to see the day. A new beginning, a final test. Will you play, or will you rest?" Jamie smiled, a chill running down his spine. He realized the game was never truly over. But this time, he was ready to play by his own rules. If you believe in the power of facing family secrets and breaking the cycle, share this story with someone who needs hope. What would you do if you discovered your family's deaths were part of a deadly game? Let us know in the comments below.